She's been a Mahara user for quite some time, and the faculty does have its own instance and supports its own lecturers and also students. And so Jamie is going to share her bootcamp idea with us.
Thank you, Christine. Well, good morning, and should I say kia ora, everyone. I'm Jamie Fulcher, and as Christina said, I'm from Monash University, so I'm from Melbourne, and I'm an educational designer for Monash. I'm one of about 15 of us, and we've all been scattered through each faculty. So I'm in the IT faculty, and my role as an ed designer, you're probably wondering what is that, but we're sort of a cross between information designers, instructional designers, critical friends. We really just assist educators keep on top of, what's happening in the education space as best we can. And fortunately for me, I suffer with that syndrome of FOMO, fear of missing out. So I like to keep up with technology, but I have been using Mahara since 2008. In 2008, when I was in the vet sector, I had a retail program, and I launched a virtual enterprise, which was a business run by students, and we used Mahara. So 2008, I'm sure you can all remember that. In 2008, clouds were still in the sky. Things have changed, and so when I came to Monash about 12 months ago, I was really a little bit shocked that a large organisation such as Monash didn't have Mahara or an e-portfolio embedded across, the whole university. And it was just so happened that I was in the IT faculty, and we have quite a few techies around, and our own servers and those types of things. So we run our own under the radar Mahara site, and we support our students. And so of course other faculties have found out about this, and they want in on the action. So in the IT faculty where I am, and from my experience with Mahara, learning about the Mahara platform was really organic. I just sort of don't mind textbooks, so I read a few textbooks, I jumped online, I watched the videos, had a bit of a play. But quite quickly I found out that, the movement was starting to build, and the other faculties were wanting to get in, and the Vice Provost of Teaching and Learning decided that, hey, wouldn't it be great if Jamie's group shared that knowledge with the rest of the university, so hence the Mahara Bootcamp. So I was a little bit put off by that at the start, because it was sort of jumping into a bit of a black hole, such as this one. So because we have never really had a portfolio, I wanted to develop a professional development activity for the teachers, or the academics if you like, that was really immersive. Okay, so I really wanted them to get across the tool, and to learn all the ins and outs of what a portfolio could do for them. So I'm just wondering, how many people in the room here consider themselves to be a teacher, or a facilitator, or someone that teaches? So hands up, keep your hands up if you're a teacher that teaches teachers. Okay, keep your hands up if you are a teacher that teaches teachers that think that they're the toughest students out there. We've got people putting 2 hands up. So, yeah, they're a tough crowd. And I've learned this because I've been an educational designer for maybe about 8 years, working with teachers and trying to get them on board, because teachers are the types of people that will come up to you 5 minutes into the workshop and say, now, Jamie, psst, psst, can you just tell me what I need to do, because I've got to go. They're the ones that often will book into the face-to-face 2-hour workshops that I've got scheduled, but can't make it because competing priorities have come up. They're the ones that will say, I've booked in, but can't you just send me the video, or, nut it down into, a quick text or something like that. I'm across it. I've used something like this before, and I'm good to go. versus really what I wanted them to do, which was to experience Mahara as a student. I wanted them to embrace the tool and learn about the tool for the first time themselves. So I also wanted to pepper in there the things that I was passionate about, like the pedagogical benefits of e-portfolios. You know, those competing priorities, you know, how was I going to get all these things to marry up, you know, their needs versus my needs, if you like. So hence came the bootcamp idea. So I decided that I needed something short, sharp, flexible, all of those things. And you might be looking at that lady, maybe that's what I wanted to look like at the end of the boot camp, sort of thinking lean, mean, fighting e-portfolio machines, you know, at the end of this boot camp. But my thinking is not really quite like the girl that you saw there. My thinking is a little bit more like this. So those are my teachers swimming in a big sea full of loads of technology, all sorts of different tools that can do all of these wonderful things for them. Okay, now don't get confused with this particular fish. I know you might be thinking fish haven't got a long memory span, but you might be getting confused with that fish that was in the Dory movie, the little fish there, the blue tang fish, I think it was. No one saw that, did they? You did. Okay. So this particular fish, though, has the skills and knowledge to actually dip into their kit bag and use the e-portfolio tool effectively in their teaching. So this was more the model I wanted. I knew that they had loads of skills, and this was something that I was going to add to their skill set knowledge to share with others. So I had that thought of, you know, teaching 101 back when I did Train the Trainer, I think in '99. This was something that they talked about a lot, was Dale's cone of experience. You know, if they read about it, they'll only remember 10%, you know, and if you get them to watch something, maybe 20, and if they participate, then they're more likely to remember. And what I've since found is I don't necessarily prescribe to that, because I do a lot of those things anyway in my learning, is that it's about having a mixed modality. So it's about putting all of those things together and combining them into an experience that's more transformative. So that's really what I wanted to do with the boot camp, was to have things to read, things to watch and things to do. Okay, so this is what I've come up with thus far. Let's see how we go. Would you all come?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So using Moodle, which is our learning management system, I'm going to develop, or we're in the process of developing up some books and some artefacts. So I'm peppering in all the different pedagogical things that I want them to know. And I'm basing each one of these phases or weeks to be about 45 minutes. So just enough to sort of, not an hour, because that's too much to commit to, but 45 minutes I'm going to be pitching it at for them to come in and join in. So it's going to be a spook, so a small private online course, so I'll direct it for the 4 weeks. But if you can imagine, Monash has some 70,000 students, some 8,000 staff. If this does take off, I can't be across all of that. So I needed something that was going to be able to be sustainable, but also that I could share with the other educational designers within Monash so that they could facilitate that move forward. So the books can be downloaded, there'll be little EPUBs, and they'll have all those things to do. So I'm saying 45 minutes, but really I'm quite cunning because I've probably got about 2 hours of content there, because there's so much stuff, isn't there, out there? Videos to watch, case studies. I mean, it's just endless. We've got lots of best practice things that are happening within Monash at the moment anyway, so we can tap into some of those things. So I've just got to get those facilitators into one of our micro studios to share those things. So phase 1 will be really just about understanding and playing with the platform itself. You know, some activities such as do a welcome video using your iPhone and upload it, you know, as an artefact. So the different types and building the pages. Then we're going to move on to some core development. So we'll be looking at sharing, customisation, journals, the function of portfolios in education. So you see again bringing in that pedagogy to walk them through some of the reasons why you know, the platform is really important to learning. In phase 3 or week 3 will be cross-training. So in this particular area, what we're going to be looking at is sharing with others the power of journals and using Mahara with other tools, because nothing's really in isolation anymore. It's always about how do you actually bring things together and have a seamless experience. And I think that, you know, I'm hoping by this stage they'll start to see that there is a connection between the two platforms, and as Mahara continues to mature, things like pushing results and matrices and things like that across will be even more seamless. So I'm looking forward to that. In phase 4, where we sort of cool down, we'll be reflecting on our reflections through the groups. We'll be looking at different things like downloading, exporting and uploading collections, and how teachers would actually do that with their students. The importance that they will now see at this particular time, that, you know, you can't just throw tools at people and expect them to use them. You know, they're fish in that sea and they will sink if you don't support them. Okay, we need to make sure that we're keeping them afloat so that they've had that good, rich experience. Now remember, I said 45 minutes, that's the minimum to get through all of their tasks, but really they could probably spend a minimum 2 hours in there. So I'm hoping that that will be enough to whet people's appetite, or at least with the EPUBs go back and find information and say, what did Jamie say was a really good tip for, you know, getting students on board at this particular point? And also some of the things that can go wrong with portfolios as well. You know, people like to experiment, and this is one of those sort of play spaces that people can be a little bit wild and put in things that are important to them. So, you know, sharing that, and hopefully by the end it'll be a bit of a community that will grow. So I'll move that across into some sort of you know, Google site or something like that, somewhere where we can share. This is just an overview, so this is going to be my catch. To get people on board is that they're going to see what's really involved from the onset, and they'll see, wow, look, 45 minutes here, I can knock that over really quickly. At Monash we do what they call seed modules, so continuing educational excellence development in teaching, and so they need to do 3. So I'm sure that this is going to be attractive to a lot, just because I've changed it into something that's a little bit different to try and get their attention, but hopefully they're really going to enjoy it and embrace it, you know, as they go through it. And if I'm really lucky, I'm going to be able to give them a badge at the end, and that's something that I'm looking at putting in our instance, because Mahara is going, I say global, but across the whole of Monash in semester 2, and so we're just dabbling with the concept of badging and how we can do that. And I think it'd be really good if I can even, you know, come up with some sort of artefact to give them at the end of the professional development activity, so they can just sort of see and get a feel and a taste for that, because that's really new territory for us. And again, it's just happening in just small pockets across Monash. So that's it. So I'll probably not use much time, but anyway, questions?
Patented your approach?
Beg your pardon?
Have you patented your approach?
No, no, I'm quite open.
Are you going to license it?
Would you like it? You would. Okay. Well, I'll be continuing to speak with Christina, because I think that I'd like to think we're all in a pretty similar boat. You know, there is so much technology out there, and how do we support people hands-on but hands-off at the same time? Let them explore, which is what the tool's about, but have it in a supportive way. All the resources are there. You know, I started looking around and I went, I don't really need to develop a lot. There's a lot of stuff out there. It's just bringing it together and packaging it in a way that follow some of the principles that we tell education, put it into little bite-sized chunks, you know, take them on a journey. All of the things that are important to me are the things that I look at when I'm looking at developing a student journey. So that was what I wanted to try and emulate in this.
So there's no face-to-face time unless it's all run through the Moodle shell?
It's all going to be in the Moodle shell, online discussions. I would like to push it, as I said, as a spook. Whether I do one sort of webinar type link up, or I might decide to do a couple of hours where I put in a Zoom link. I usually put we use Zoom or any video conferencing technology, and I usually embed that into a block in Moodle as a HTML, and I just put on there an open line, so an open classroom for a couple of hours, and if anyone wants to come and hook up, they can come and hook up.
So it's not private consult? That's
right, just anyone jump online if you're there. But I find that, you know, I do get a lot of obstacles. People are busy, and, you know, so there's a bit of that talk to the hand. But I know that we have a captive audience because they do need to do their required professional development activities, and I sort of think if they do need to do that, I want to make this particular professional development activity as beneficial as possible, because it is here for the longevity.
Have you tested on the staff?
Only the guinea pigs within my department.
Yeah.
Some of the designers have volunteered to go through it as a cohort group.
Yeah.
So that's really supportive, because they're probably the most critical audience that I will get.
Yeah.
Because they're experienced and they'll know how other people react to it as well. In terms of assessment, we do have, at Monash we follow with the Better Teaching, Better Learning agenda, pre-class, in-class and post-class activities. So they will have to do different things, but they're not really assessed on that. It's just you've got hurdles, if you like, along the way. So they will need to be required to do particular things each week, and they will need to do a completion activity, which will be exporting their portfolio or making a collection that's, you know, can be used to copy, which is something that we're using a lot. Specifically in the FIT faculty in research, we use the portfolio for our research academics, and they love it. The academics or professors have basically said to me, Jamie, you know, we've taken this paper-based assignment, we've used me, if you like, as a vehicle to help them put it in and make just a skeleton of what we wanted them to do in a collection, and then let them go. And he said the difference in work that he's seeing with the same assignment, the same criteria, the same outcomes is just out of this world. And he said to me at the end, I want to use some of these collections as exemplars for students coming through to the next cohort. And I said, be very careful to do that, because although they're really, really good, you don't want to you want to lift the ceiling. So you want to let people decide where their ceiling is and not be lowered down to what they think is this, again, that standard. So let them go and see what they come up with, because each cohort group's different, it has a different energy, different vibe. And
how comfortable are the participants that you're expecting in your courses with learning online, fully online?
Yeah, that's going to be a bit patchy. We use the term blended learning a lot.
Sorry, Jamie, what was your question?
Christina was just asking how many people in my cohort groups will have done a class fully online. And I would say that'll be mixed. That really will be mixed. It's not a new concept. Everybody knows that it's there, but whether they've actually participated, or maybe you could be like me and have, you know, hooked up to a MOOC or something and then never really seen it right through to completion. But this is a little bit different to that, because it is more structured and in-house. I can track them down and find them if I have to. Whereas
Is that because you've got a set of special skills?
it's just our intranet, really.
Yeah, just wondering now that kind of learning, a way of learning online or learning to use Moodle or discussion forums in general will have somewhat of an impact on how they perceive the activities or what they're doing or how good their progress will be in the program.
I think we will need to jump in quite regularly, even though I'm sort of saying I'm hands off. I will be watching everything that goes on, so at each of the milestones. So I've done some pretty detailed journey maps and looked at a lot of, some of the pain points that can come up. So what happens if these people or 20% don't do their activities at the end of week 1? But I'll have a lot of that subscribed, if you like, with reminder emails and posts in the forum that you need to do this by this particular time. That's just life. That's just life, I think. And we'll just work with it. Just as they do when they work with their students and have end dates.
And Jamie, I wouldn't do your course. I very much struggle, and I think that there's a 13th house of the zodiac, and I'm in it. And I think other people in it, it might be getting smaller and smaller. I mean, a fairy friend. But I want to know why would you not even offer a face-to-face, a physical place where people could do this? Because I can tell you, if I was going to our physical place for that first one, I'd get into it. But I just thought I know I would be one of those people. What's the philosophy for never offering it?
Well, it's about, I still will be there. So even though I'm saying it's fully online, I'll be there through podcasts or, little vignettes, if you like. But it's about flexibility. That's what it's about. It's about offering something that they can do in a flexible environment. So they will still see me. I will still be there saying, this week you're going to do this, and the learning outcomes and, all of those sorts of things. But they've got to jump out of the learning management system into Mahara anyway. So I can't support them the whole way. If I bring them into facilities which are constantly booked, so trying to get rooms, get them into laptops, everyone's got different systems, and I've got Linux to deal with, I've got PCs, I've got the Mac. So to try and, I'd rather do the face-to-face session after they've done their 4 weeks, because this is just a boot camp. This is about experiencing the tool and understanding some of the fundamental philosophies or pedagogies, dare I say it, around e-portfolios. And I just want them to explore. And I want them to go at their own pace. And I know with technology, and any technology that I've taught, people go at their own pace. And no one wants to sit in a room where I say, so now let's everyone upload the artefact here. And is everyone caught up? I don't want it to be that way. I want them to have their checklist, to be self-directed, go over to Mahara, maybe get their iPhone out, take a few snaps, go and talk to someone in the tea room and have a critical conversation about how they think it might work, go and put some notes back in their diary. I don't need to be there for 2 hours to do that in a workshop. I just need to give them the instructions, and that's what this is. It's that landing, throwing them out there, getting them used to it. After that, I think having a workshop, and by then I'm sure they'll all really want to come to a workshop, to talk about their experiences, to brainstorm some of the things that they, some of the hurdles, some of the pain points, some of those things that they can do in a discussion. And that's what I would like to see as the next step. So, and another badge for my more advanced learners. So that was my thinking, because it was technical. I don't need to be. Might want them to watch a 15-minute video. I wouldn't run that if I was running a face-to-face session. Because I know my audience wouldn't do it.
Just a comment to say, we at our uni we have had some success with a similar approach around people who are beginners to e-learning generally, and running a short Moodle course for them where they have the student experience of being in a Moodle online course. And in some cases, at the end of that, we offer the option of people coming together and meeting face-to-face to finish off the course. And I think I've run it 5 times now, and 4 times that option's been declined, and once it's been
taken
asked for and people came.
So I think it's just one of those things with competing priorities now. Academics are really busy, and I know particularly in my faculty we're working on units, and in particular the project's called Unit Enhancement. So as I said, pre-class, in-class and post-class. And so they're not, this philosophy is not new of them flipping their classroom model, and I say blended a lot to them because they're building things for students to do outside and then come, and it's more workshop philosophy, more hands-on, more discussion, and they do the other stuff outside. So this philosophy shouldn't be new to our academics. It's just whether they've actually experienced it themselves as students. And that's the critical bit for me is, we have this expectation that what our learners want, and we're developing our material in such a way, but have we actually experienced that as a student and been the student? Because that, to me, that's the key message here is you have to induct your student with any new tool. And the first thing that can go wrong, and I've seen this many times before, is launch a new platform and don't give the support to the facilitators to use it. And that's what I was most worried about when they said, hey Jamie, you can teach everyone how to use Mahara. And I thought, well, I just can't get across to that many people, but sure, I can bring all that material to them.
Thank you very much, Jamie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.